you.
I think Code, you had a few questions before.
Yeah, Dolma, I just wanted to maybe before you got into the meat of it, just curious, like, have you raised capital so far? And where are you at in sort of life stage in terms of the company?
Good question. So we have raised capital. I would say maybe like a pre-seed, if you want to label it. So we've raised from Techstars and then also to angel investors. But we're now approaching a larger round. So we're looking to raise 2 million US. And that would help us with our clinical studies and getting to our regulatory submissions. So we have a TRL7 hardware medical device that has been approved for initial user testing, so our first in human. And then, yeah, we would be looking at our early feasibility and feasibility studies coming up.
Great context. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. I will share my screen. Okay, let me minimize this. And I'm also going to set a time.
Jane, I don't know if we're like the perfect audience for this one. Just, you know.
That's fair. That's okay. You're
Alright.
still perfect audience for pitches in general and delivery and, you know.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, clarity would be helpful too.
We all have children, so it's okay.
Alrighty. Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Dolma Tsundu, and I'm the CEO and founder of Flutter, where we're reimagining the future of pregnancy care. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Nadine. For 15 years, Nadine was a policy analyst with the Government of Canada, and she loved being able to contribute to her community as a public servant. Nadine and her husband were so excited to learn that they were expecting a baby girl who they named Judith. And Judith was full of energy. They would refer to her as their little kickboxer inside of Nadine's womb. But just 2 weeks before Judith's due date, Nadine noticed Judith's movements becoming less frequent and weaker. So she went to her doctor, who took Judith's heartbeat, told Nadine that babies just ran out of room, and sent her back home, essentially dismissing her concerns. And just 2 days later, little Judith's heart stopped beating, and Nadine's world changed forever. On September 18th, Nadine held her daughter for both the first and the last time. The guilt and grief she experienced after her stillbirth was debilitating. She was hospitalized for PTSD and depression, and to this day has been unable to return to work. Nadine's story is not uncommon. Every 16 seconds, a baby around the world is stillborn. And in high-income countries like Canada and the US, 30% of these deaths could be prevented. And stillbirths put mothers at risk with a 14 times higher chance of severe complications during delivery. Outside of the hospital, parents are essentially on their own with only sporadic checkups. In Nadine's case, she did everything right. She took care of her health, listened to her body, and took action when she felt something was wrong. She had an undiagnosed maternal infection that was cutting off little Judith's oxygen. So how can we enable providers to offer the best care? At Flutter, we're developing a novel, non-invasive wearable device to enable parents and physicians to continuously monitor maternal and fetal health from home and to reduce the time it takes to seek medical attention. Our primary customers are pregnant individuals, with our secondary customers being healthcare providers and healthcare institutions. The direct cost related to a stillbirth is $9,000. We know that the cost per pregnancy is $19,000, and this rises to $27,000 per complex pregnancy. And so if someone goes through a loss, they have to repeat these costs, which also affects the healthcare system. Our beachhead market is $4 billion per year, with a focus on the 2 million complex pregnancies per year across our first regions, the US, Canada, and the UK. We also know that this is part of a larger movement. The WHO and UNICEF have set out to prevent stillbirths by the year 2030. And there's also a large market opportunity with the 16% compound annual growth rate and the expected value of this market to be $109 billion by 2032. Comparable companies like Owlet and Nouveau have gone public, demonstrating the potential in the pregnancy wearable space. But unlike their technologies, our technology measures parameters beyond fetal heart rate and does not restrict user mobility. Sorry, someone's like knocking on my door and it's really distracting. Yeah, so to kind of illustrate this, the product on the left is Nuvo's device, and they just went public. And our device is less bulky and integrates into maternity wearables and garments, which are already being worn by parents and help to support the abdomen and reduce back pain.
Sorry, the one on the right is yours?
So that's not actually ours, but it's like to demonstrate how we would integrate it into maternity wearables. So that's essentially what it will look like.
Yours would look like that. Yours would look like.
It will look like this. Yes, that's essentially what it looks like. Yeah. So to date, we have already launched our first product, which was a mobile application that allows parents to manually track their fetal movements. And our wearable device allows them to do this autonomously. And so it makes it much easier and more convenient to do. So our revenue model, we are selling the device as per unit cost, so $2,000 per wearable device. And then we also have our app, which is currently free, but we would be moving this into a subscription fee, and it would essentially serve as a loss leader for the medical device, because people will become more aware of fetal movement tracking and also come to recognize the challenges with doing that. So we see that as a great opportunity to help introduce them to this product. And we're also building a trusted brand through community. So our app has been promoted by organizations like the International Stillbirth Alliance and the Washington State Department of Health. And we're also collaborating with key health authorities towards a national strategy in Canada, such as the Public Health Agency of Canada. And our go-to-market strategy, we intend to start with paid pilots through private obstetrician practices across the US. But eventually we want to go directly to consumers as a medical device. So this could be sold through electronic stores or pharmacies or e-commerce. And eventually we're working towards a reimbursement strategy where the device could be at a much lower cost. And this will also enable the device to be much more accessible to families. And through healthcare institutions like hospitals, we can also start to enable rental options. So we're using both indirect and direct channels. So some examples that we've used so far are advocacy groups and social media. But once we are able to access those health authorities, such as with the Public Health Agency of Canada, we expect that we'll be able to really unlock these population groups. And we've already demonstrated the ability to reach our customer base through social media. So as an example, just one of our TikToks was able to reach over 200,000 views, and this converted directly to thousands of downloads. So if we can continue to build upon this momentum, we believe that there's great potential. And this was done all organically with no paid advertising. So with our hardware device, we are at TRL 7, and it has been approved through the Canadian Standards Association to be used with humans in clinical studies. And we do have our patents pending. We have 2 systems and methods patents, and we've also been able to demonstrate accurate detection through our simulations and now moving into our first in human. And we have been supported by well-known deep tech programs such as the Hardware Catalyst Initiative, where we are able to access for free an $11 million prototyping lab, which is where all of our R&D development is coming out of now. And we've also been supported by Techstars Industries of the Future, which was the only Techstars program that was partnered with a national scientific laboratory. And we continue to be supported by the National Research Council, who have been funding our R&D efforts. So we are a Class 2 de novo medical device. So this past quarter, we were able to successfully get our safety approvals and also get ethics approval for our study. So this quarter, we are focused on our first in human study. We'll be moving into our early feasibility study in 2025 in the first quarter, and we are looking at collaborating with different hospitals, which I'll mention in the next slide. And then we'll move into our feasibility studies with the goal of getting to our pivotal by the last quarter of 2025 and submitting to the FDA by the second quarter of 2026. So we have received interest from two different institutions. So in the US, the University of Tennessee Medical Center, which was recently named one of the top maternity hospitals in the US. And we're currently going through the Healthy program, or we will from October, with St. Joseph's Hospital in Hamilton, which will help to lay the groundwork for a clinical study. And through that, we would be able to access the SOPHIE program, which offers $100,000 in funding to run that clinical study. So we are a technical team. My background is in integrated engineering. When I was a student, I was the sole national recipient of the Engineers Canada Gold Medal Student Award, but I also bring my experience as a trained birth doula. And my team has led hardware development at companies like Sanctuary AI, which is one of the prominent companies within the space of humanoid robots, and as well has conducted PhD research in biomedical sensors and have multiple publications in medical imaging and image processing. And we're supported by a great team of mentors that have taken medical devices to market and companies to IPOs. And we are supported by individuals who have very rich product development experience, such as Jack, who was an early engineer and R&D manager at Dexcom, which is one of the most prominent continuous glucose monitoring technologies, and also has worked at Medtronic. And we have clinical mentorship from physician leaders like Dr. William Fraser, who is the former Canada Research Chair in Maternal and Fetal Medicine. So we would love for you to become a part of our story. We are opening our seed round. And also, if you have any connections to clinical institutions that might be interested in partnering with us, we would love to meet with them. So for our fundraise, we are looking at a $2 million US round. This would give us 24 months of runway. And we're putting this towards clinical and regulatory IP and R&D. And the goal with this is to get through 3 phases of clinical trials and submit our documentation to the FDA. We believe that there is strong potential in this space. We've seen Nouveau, which just went public last 2 months ago, and Owlet, which also went public, which was really able to demonstrate the appetite among families and parents to use technologies, specifically wearables, to support them with monitoring their baby. And we've also seen big acquisitions through companies like Samsung, and we believe that there is strong potential and alignment with these companies as well. So little Judith's legacy lives on, and we believe that there is hope. As just one example, in 2023, Nadine and I actually worked together to successfully advocate for new national fetal health surveillance guidelines. So now in Canada, every pregnant individual should be advised by their healthcare provider after 26 weeks to be regularly monitoring fetal movements. And if they notice any reduction, they should seek medical attention right away. So we're moving towards this individualized baseline and this understanding that every baby is unique and it's important to recognize their individual pattern. And so our technology is really enabling parents to be able to do this more efficiently and accurately. Pregnancy is essentially a reminder of what a miracle it is to be human. And so from the very first flutters in a person's belly to the first time that they hold their baby, we want every moment to be a positive memory for them. Thank you.
Thanks, Dolma. 12 minutes exactly.
Nice.
Well done. Okay. Great. All right. David, would you like to kick us off with the feedback for Dolma?
I'd be happy to. Dolma, lovely presentation. Thank you for that. Very clear. Your slides in general are very clear, very crisp. Communication is very good. I would say just you're a fast talker, so you can slow down a little bit. I think I know you had your 12 minutes to stick to, but yeah, there's a tendency of people to talk fast, and I guess you have to get into your 12 minutes. But very, very good. My own personal experience is that we have 2 children, but we have had 5 pregnancies. So we went through some of this years ago, and it definitely affected us. My question is, how is Nadine doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really tough on her, and she still has challenges, obviously. But I think what's been really inspiring for me to see is just like how she's transformed that really difficult and traumatic experience into advocacy work. And I find that yeah, just really motivational. And yeah, we work very closely together. So actually after this call, I have a meeting with her. We're meeting with the Public Health Agency of Canada. So yeah, just like a really big champion for families across Canada.
Very good, very good. I like the way that story is weaved through your presentation. I think that's very important to have a story in a presentation. I think that's very effective. So the other thing, the other aspects that are going to be important, and I just like your opinion on them and give you some feedback on them. So you're going after, like when you go to the FDA or a medical device, and or even at the MEA in the European community, have you thought about the time frames and the the amount of money needed to actually get those approvals?
Yes. So the ask that we have right now is to get ourselves to a place where we can submit for that approval. So that is, yeah, I guess what we've budgeted in here. Beyond that, I would need to relook at what the cost will be after that point. But yeah, this is like 24 months runway that we're looking at here.
Okay. It's a little bit frustrating, I find, some of these trials and getting your approvals and so forth, and it does take more time. I would just allay that that thought that yes, medical technologies do take longer, but their payouts are usually much bigger. And so that's something that investors need to know, because they don't always understand that if they're not in the medical investment field. They don't understand that, yes, oh my God, you got to get FDA and all this. Yeah, you do, but the payout at the end is usually bigger. So that's just some feedback in terms of communication.
Yeah, I can weave in our financial projections into this, I think, to like help make that story a lot more impactful in terms of potential. Yeah, that's a great point.
The other thing is B2B insurance companies. Have you looked at those as a go-to-market strategy?
Yes, although it will be later in the process, because this is a de novo device and we expect that we will need to set up a separate reimbursement code that will take some time. So I have spoken to a big firm in the US that helps with that reimbursement. And they were actually encouraging me to think about going direct to consumer first, because there are people who would be willing to pay out of pocket for this and can afford that. And so to like make it eventually more affordable for the broader population, then we can look into reimbursement.
So I will tell you, having launched many consumer products, it's very expensive and very time consuming, much more than a B2B play. But the insurance, I bring it up because if insurance companies have women who've had these scenarios, they're off work for a while, and if they can help them get back to work and get through their situation, there's a big play there. Even though it's hard to get into insurance companies, once you're in them, they're a bit of a gold mine in terms of your value proposition. So that's just something to consider. You should consider. It would seem to me there's hundreds, maybe less, I don't know, of these type of services and products on the market. What's your view on that?
Yeah, there actually aren't, which is kind of interesting. So most of the technologies in the fetal monitoring space that like consumers can buy are only focused on fetal heart rate. So you might have used one of those like heart rate Dopplers at home. And even like the emerging pregnancy wearables, like they kind of just build on this existing technology. So that's why there's a lot of 510Ks with like new devices just on a Doppler. So what we're doing is focusing more on the fetal movement detection innovation, because that's something that people are doing manually right now. But as a result of it being manual, it's not accurate and it's really confusing for people to do. And so we're missing out on this like huge amount of data when we know that fetal movements has a correlation to fetal health. And so that's where we're positioning ourselves, is like, we know that, you know, uterine contraction monitors already exist. We know that fetal heart rate monitors already exist. The part that's missing is fetal movement. But there is a really important relationship between fetal movement and fetal heart rate, because you're looking for that acceleration in heart rate every time you go for a non-stress test. So that's like this gap that we're filling. Yeah, hopefully that helps. And then there's manual trackers that are available.
So yeah, I get it. So these competitors you have here are
Yeah.
really the most common ones. So you're comparing
Yes.
yourself to the most common ones in the market. Okay, no, that's fair enough.
Okay,
My
David,
last
I'm
question,
gonna,
and then I'll.
can I just
You want
pause
me
you
to
here because we're just not gonna have much time for the rest of the feedback. So
Okay, I'll
hold that.
stop. Sorry.
Okay, that's
Thanks.
okay. Code, I'll turn to you now.
Actually, why don't you ask Rafe to go first, and
Okay,
I'll wrap
Rafe.
it up.
Correct. Look, I think net there's like in this category, there's an interesting opportunity from a consumer's point of view. Look, if I'm like upper middle class or above, couple or whatever, like family having pregnancy, you're telling me for $2,000 I can like have this added insurance on the fetal health. Like, yeah, like all day I'm doing that. And like there's the guilt of not doing it is just like, it's so there's some, but like you didn't touch on unit economics on your slides at all. So
Yeah.
I saw 2,000 in there. I saw $6 a month in there. A monthly fee. I don't know why you even bother because it's like during pregnancy. So it's like, why, if you're selling the device for $2,000, throw the monthly plan in. So anyway, the whole unit economics is a big question. I'm just going to go fast because we're tight on time. And then, like, why do you need FDA approvals? Like, are you like a fetal Fitbit or are you a medical device? Because if you're a
We're a
Fitbit,
medical, yeah.
then, sorry, which one are you?
We're a medical device.
Oh, okay. So why not like a fetal Fitbit? Like that you just go
Yeah.
direct to consumer, don't bother with FDA approval, say it's pending. You do enough like, you know what I mean? Like influencer action, you can sell a bunch
Sure.
of these probably. Like, you know what I mean? With
Yeah.
those approvals and all the capital.
Yeah, it's quite challenging when you start handling a fetus or like start involving a fetus because that's also like not yourself. So because fetal movements has a direct correlation to like fetal health, like it's very difficult to separate that. And so, yeah, I mean, we've done our research around classifications, and we believe that going forward as a medical device is the right path. And
So
as
that
just like
means you will not sell directly to consumer?
we will sell directly to consumers, but as a medical device. So even an at-home Doppler that you can find on Amazon, like that is a class 2 medical device that has been approved.
Right, right. I'm just saying, like, is there a way to minimize the capital and approval requirement before selling directly to consumer? Because I think for me, it's like the pitch is so strong, right? Like what I started with. Like, I don't know if you need that extra little logo at the bottom for me to buy the device. You know what I mean? I know.
Oh, I see.
So,
Yeah.
and then like my next thing was like, if this is Fitbit for fetal health, then is there a world where the smartwatch kills you like it killed the Fitbit, where they have some sort of AI algorithm just from my watch that's able to track fetal movements and I don't need the spandex?
No. If you put a Apple Watch on your belly, it won't give
I
you.
don't know, just from
Yeah.
my wrist, can it
Okay.
someday send, like, can AI get smart enough where I don't need the device?
I
I don't
don't see I don't see a world where if you were holding it on your wrist, you would be able to detect if the fetus moved. But that's it's a good question. I like that kind of question.
And last is more on style, and I think this just comes with practice. Like I like the story and whatnot, but like your sentences, I could tell you're reading it per slide. I can even hear you press your keyboard every time you flip
I
it.
didn't use any script actually. This
Okay,
is
well, it felt like scripted, like you're saying the things, you're taking a pause, you're hitting next slide. I hear it on your keyboard, and then you start speaking again. Like it's not very natural. So maybe that's just gonna come with practice, or maybe don't attach the words so much to the slides. And maybe use if you're doing online pitches, don't use the keyboard because it's really loud. I'm hearing it every time. Like that just distracts and like makes you look less professional. I'm just being straight, like on
okay.
a bit stuff, right? So anyway, those are yeah, like so, but maybe I'll take a pause, explain the unit economics because I didn't let you answer.
Yes. So our current unit economics is an 88% profit margin on the device. So yeah, we expect that it'll be like under $250 to produce. and manufacture the device.
Okay, so it's $250 to produce, but you're gonna sell it for 2,000. How did you come up
Yes.
with the 2,000 number?
Yeah, so that number is based off of what we've seen with similar devices in the space. And this is also US dollars. I will just also mention that.
Okay, guys, we're at 1, so sorry. I think we're gonna have to pause it here. I don't want to cut Yuban short with her time, but
Yeah, no,
more questions. Code, feel free to just jot a few notes in an email and I'll get them to Dolma, any feedback that you have specifically. But we'll start with you next time, so get ready.
No worries.
And a quick welcome, Lindy. Lindy is Yuban's coach. Glad you could join. To your perfect timing. And we're going to start. Actually, hang on. I'm going to stop this recording and start the next.